We stay on to Signature Television, and this is the Signature Morning, and in the segment we'll be discussing something very important, talking about politics, what happened in Edo election, the gubernatorial election in Edo, and we have in the studio also Ezeudo III of Ugwaje. He said it's the ancient kingdom.
Yeah, Ugwaje. We have two communities now, two of the villages Severe that became an autonomous community. So we still have 4 large villages that make up the Ugwaje Ancient Kingdom. So that's why I'm number 3. Okay. It's always been there. Yeah, we have had other Isi and Idem, the Warren Chiefs. It's been an old kingdom.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Why we are now putting the Ancient is to make it different from the autonomous community.
I mean, I understand that you took over this mantle just a few years back. I think last year or last year?
Yes, last year. You should be talking about a few months back.
A few months back.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what has changed so far from your life as a person and being an Igwe of Ugwaje Autonomous Community.
A lot has changed because, I retired from a formal setting where I headed some groups of people, even as a labor leader. You come to see and observe that formal structure is entirely different from community politics. Of course, which I never even wanted to involve myself, but our people wanted me, and I had to be there. This is a time I begin to see people coming to complain to me about misunderstanding between them and their neighbors on where they could spread cloth. This is a time I begin to hear people come to complain to me about their husbands and their wives. And this is a time before I wake up in the morning, people are lined up for complaints. So it's an entirely different thing from what I was experiencing. The other time when I was in public service and a labor leader, we were talking with people of the same understanding. This is a place, of course, you begin to see that no matter your antecedent, once you become the head of that local community, everybody is equal to you. Many are even more than you, even people you know. In fact, you can't even compare yourself. That is the real place where you see the admonition of Jesus Christ, that you must have to be the least, to be the number one.
Right. Interesting. I mean, I'm just trying to even put across the relationship between you being a labor leader and now being an Igwe. Like, it would have been a conflict of so many things.
Yeah, but of course, as a media person and a public relations practitioner, it shouldn't be so difficult. And then a trained crisis manager. I inherited a community relatively in crisis, but applying my experiences, we are coming together gradually. Of course, the coming together is faster than I had even expected, which was, of course, the reasons I wasn't, as a person, wanting. In fact, it wasn't within my scale of preference to become an Igwe. But God has a way of doing his things. There I am. And I'm confronting it the way he's confronting me.
Interesting, really. Yeah. I'm just wondering what you think about the local government elections. I mean, you are an Igwe, so you should have an idea of what played out in the last local government elections on Saturday that finally throw up the winners, 17 local government areas, PDP, and all 260 wards councillorship. I don't know. What's your reaction to that development?
Of which state?
Of Enugu State.
All right. Eventually, Charles, you're asking me questions based on your understanding of my past. If it were then, I would have, of course, covered half of Enugu State as a media person.
Absolutely.
To be able to give informed analysis of what happened. But, of course, coming from the angle of where I voted, it was peaceful. Everybody voted his conscience. I didn't see anybody disturbing anybody from my own polling unit. And of course, I voted and had to go back home to begin to address the problems that were already before me. And the result, if we look at the past experience or experiences, we would still say that it wasn't credible. But judging it from that small corner where I was, I will not say it's credible. And if we look at what the governor is already doing in the name of that particular party, of course, he must have even campaigned for the councillors and the chairman of the local government. And of course, what also played out, I don't know, I wouldn't know, I don't even know their reasons. If you have scheduled a football match, I want to come with that knowledge, and midway or even before the match started, actually, and the other party didn't show up, of course, you know it's going to be a walkover. Because I began to understand that at a time, some of the political parties who were jostling up for the election began to boycott the election. And it was too late. At that point in time, they were boycotting. Election couldn't just have stopped. That's the way I look at it. But I'm not saying this is an informed analysis because unlike before, I didn't move beyond that my polling unit. If it were to be the time I was on a kind of freelance, covering for so many radio stations and some televisions, I would have covered a number of places. And if I had covered about 50%, I would have had enough sample or representative enough sample to be able to say exactly that either the election was rigged in favor of a particular political party or not. But looking at that small angle where I voted, everyone was peaceful.
All right, I mean, it would be because you are Igwe and you probably must have gone with a lot of entourage, you know, in order to cast your vote. But I just wanted to ask you, what is the relationship between traditional rulership and local government? Do you think it has a relationship? And to what extent should we expect that traditional rulership or the traditional institution should be involved in politics? Because many people have said that our traditional institution should not be involved at all in politics. And some persons also say that, look, they must be involved in politics because the blessing mostly comes from them. And sometimes they are also involved in telling the people who to go with and who not to go with. To what extent should our traditional institutions be involved in politics?
Yeah, if we talk about politicking, which is entirely different thing from governance, I would say they should not be partisan. But if we are talking about governance, delivering the services, they should be 101% involved. Why? Everything in life is local. Politics is local. Administration is local. Infrastructural facilities, local. And it is only when the locals are made to begin to see government projects as their projects that there will begin to be the voluntary security for whatever government is doing in any community. And from my experience, Igwes or the traditional institutions are people who are credibly brought up, with a few exceptions anyway, but my own was out of credible election that was live on television. Absolutely. Everybody saw it. So the local people believe in their traditional ruler. Of course, that should be the fourth tier of governance within the government of Nigeria. And they should be funded to be able, in fact, when you talk of insecurity, let us use insecurity as an example that we are battling with. Every traditional ruler should be down to earth with his people. They should be involved to provide that security. Involving them is not just about talking to them, you know everybody in your community. You fund them, because what is security? Security is surveillance. Ability to detect what is possible to happen before it happens. It's not just about carrying guns. It's not even about making policies. It's about getting the pieces of information that are possible to reveal what could happen before it happens.
Let's look at Enugu State. The local rulers, are they generally involved in politics? You know, what is happening in politic in Nigeria and basically in Enugu State?
When you say are they generally involved, people come to consult them. I wouldn't know whether that thing amounts to
We have had cases of
no, but let me come.
Yeah.
People they came to consult me, and I began to tell them that after politics, what next? All the parties that came to consult me before I even, in fact, it was less than 24 hours before I began to even hear that some political parties are withdrawing from that contest. But while they were coming, PDP came, I advised them. If you dispense justice in your administration, dispense equity, dispense what am I calling equality, where equality exists, peace will be automatic. And I keep telling them, you don't have to be fighting, canvassing for votes. You don't even have to go into politics of mudslinging. Tell the people what you ought to do, what you have done in the past, what you are capable of doing. If the people choose you, immediately after politicking or electioneering, what confronts the other person is leadership, the winner. Let everybody support that winner to deliver service to the people. It's not, one thing is winning an election. Another thing is making sure that services that ought to be provided are provided.
Right.
You know? So I wouldn't say that the traditional rulers are generally involved in politicking, but they must have been consulted. They must have been consulted. And I don't see any traditional ruler, who understands what he's doing that will stand up to begin to canvass for a particular party or a particular candidate.
No, but
let me tell you this, Charles. You know this leadership. The real essence of leadership is ability to know what you have to do, when you have to do it, how you have to do it, even when it suits your own personal interest. But it's going to serve, if not everybody's interest, the interest of greater majority, whether you like it or not. So you may like a particular candidate, but for you as a traditional ruler to be obvious in campaigning for that candidate, you are jeopardizing the chances of unity, assuming the winning goes the other way.
So if you are a traditional ruler, for instance, and these consultations come to you, different political parties, different individuals come to you, and you know the right candidate for the community, and you know others are not good because they have antecedents, because you are a member of the community, somebody who leads the community, and you know all of these other persons are not good for the community that you lead. For you as a traditional ruler, don't you think the onus is on you to, advise the people, this is the person that should lead this community, and you feel this person should lead the community? Would you allow somebody else who is a criminal, for instance, who is known to be a kidnapper in that community, who is known to have killed people in the past, allowed to take over power just because the traditional rulership doesn't allow that you support somebody?
Okay, thank you for this very critical question, Mr. Charles. I have always told every leader, it's important you go and study some elements of public relations. You should know when to separate the person from the issue. No traditional ruler who knows what he's doing will come to say, don't vote for Mr. A or vote for Mr. B. But look at what I did. My friend, a good local government chairman should not be, because every other person in the community knows who is who. A good local government chairman should not have had criminal past, present or current. He should not be known to be wife snatcher. He should not be known to be this and that. I reel them out what should be the criteria for consideration. And after saying that, when everybody knows that this person is a criminal, I mustn't call that person a criminal. But I have told you, you must not vote for a criminal. You must not vote for somebody who is a crisis creator in his community. We must begin to look for troubleshooters who will give us peace. You know? So, having said what you must consider before you vote, must you say don't vote for Mr. A?
So if the people decide to
choose criminal after I have given them the reasons they should not vote for criminal, it's their business. But
not your business?
Including my business, because yes, it's going to be my business too, because I'm within that society. But as a traditional ruler, when they came, when people consult me, I tell them, don't vote for this. They know them. But it will be unbecoming of me, of a traditional ruler, to look at a particular person already considered and cleared by his political party and made him a candidate, for me to say don't vote for this person, which means don't vote for this party. If a party chooses a criminal to run an election for them as their flag bearer, they should bear the consequences. But as a traditional ruler, I will tell them, please don't vote for a criminal. Don't vote for who has not done. If the qualifications, for example, is that that person must have a BSc, and somebody does not have a BSc, and we already know that he didn't even go to school, but he's parading a BSc, which of course is obvious. Please don't vote for anybody that may have forged his certificate or his degree. You have said all. Must I call that name? That is the ability to remove the person from the issue. Discuss issues, leave names.
Okay. Let's look at the influences. You know, we know that the government of a state can, you know, pay allowances to traditional rulers. Sometimes they even give them cars. Don't you see that this could be a strategic favor buying in terms of government buying over the traditional ruler? In terms of when it comes to politics, when it comes to elections, don't you see the strong influence they're going to have on the traditional rulers?
Yeah, that is so obvious. If the traditional ruler does not understand what he's entitled to. Let me tell you this. Even as a traditional ruler, I don't clap for governors that pay salaries. I don't clap for governors that build roads. I don't clap for governors that do promotions. These are statutory provisions that have to be funded by public fund. He's not doing it with his private money. A traditional ruler who is entitled to some stipend because his people has voted him should understand that he's entitled to it. He shouldn't be influenced by that. Charles, we have met in several other radio stations, and you know who I am and the way I speak, even though I may not be as vociferous as I used to be right now. But that truth remains that it has to be told. The education is that what you're entitled to, and somebody gives it to you, should not influence you. A governor that has budgeted for road, and public fund has been provided for it, and he didn't build that road, why should he not be prosecuted? He's not doing it with his private money. I have my friend, the president of Uregua, Jessica. He had trained all his children. He drives in his Volkswagen. He refused to live in the presidential palace. He's living in his farmhouse with his dog and his wife, and his children were already working. The moment he earns his salary, he takes 90% of that salary back to Chesia Homes and said that 10% is enough for him and his wife and the dog. That is the person that should be clapped for. It is only when they begin to use their private funds to do certain extraordinary things, that's when we clap for them.
Okay, in this case, if they use private funds,
Eh?
In this case, if they use their private funds, to get some gift, extraordinary things like you put it, to some traditional rulers, don't you see the strong
And I am
influence?
believing that traditional ruler who is being influenced by pittance. If we are influenced to do a wrong thing that keeps us in perpetuity, who is to blame? Like I said, you press men, gentlemen of the press, you keep asking and repeating one question to think that somebody may say something. I have told you, as an independent-minded person, my God has made me all this while. I try as much as possible to remove people from issues. I don't discuss people. You know that most of the crises that are difficult to resolve is when it becomes ego-based. They hold me. There are two types of crises: ego-based crisis and issue-based crisis. I did a book on labor, and I told them, when you are going for negotiation, remove the person from the table. CMD, sir, because I worked in a hospital. Can you keep your name, your professor, under the table and place the CMD on the table? My own name and whatever I am is here. The chairman of the union is here. When you remove the person, bring the CMD, you know that CMD is speaking for hospital management. And the chairman of the union is speaking for the people he is representing. And what are the issues? Not your name, not my name. So if you are a traditional ruler, my take is that issues should be discussed, not individuals. Where you get it right, say it is right. Where it is wrong, you may not say it on air. You can even approach that governor, that local government chairman, that your councillor, that president, Mr. President. You could have done it the other way. Let me tell you, the followers are the major problems we have. Are you aware that we run a country where somebody wins an election, the person jetsons party ideology? It becomes his personal ideology. What Mr. President says goes. Are you holding Mr. President responsible? If he does it wrong, we are clapping for him. If he gets it right, we are clapping for him. If he takes us, or drives all of us into Atlantic Ocean, we are clapping for him even in death. Do you blame that Mr. President or that Mr. Governor? We are major issue. So I am trying to say that traditional rulers, my co-traditional rulers, we should summon courage enough not to be influenced by what you are entitled to or whatever is being used. In fact, let us pray for them and advise them earnestly. Where they are going wrong, tell them that they are going wrong.
Right. I mean, you can be one out of so many, because so many persons would think that the thing belongs to the governor or the president, and then they are giving out of the will of the president or the governors, as the case may be. And sometimes even what is entitled to you might be doubled, might be 3 times more. So, and then you collect it, and then you sometimes keep quiet. But one other question I wanted to ask is, do you think that the traditional institutions, especially in Igbo land, have crumbled? Given what we have seen with elections over the years, there has been several elections, especially local government elections, that has been bedeviled by apathy. Imo State local government elections was held last week. The same thing. Enugu State local government elections, in the last 10 years that have followed the local government elections in Enugu, has always been one issue: apathy. And these people live within the communities where Igwes are located. Does it mean that Igwes are not doing their jobs in educating those in those communities to come and vote?
Yeah, thank you. Political education, certainly, of a truth, is not one of the things the Igwes should be doing.
It isn't?
Yes. Political education should be done by the political parties. But the unfortunate thing is that we have only one political party in Nigeria. We don't have political parties that are based on ideologies. If he doesn't get it in party A, he runs to party B. If he doesn't get it in party B, he goes to party C. If he doesn't get it in party C, he will begin to think of a new political association or political party to form. It's about personal interest. Apathy is not just about the traditional institutions. But the unfortunate thing are that, like I told you, our problem is that the followers are the major problems. Not just the traditional rulers, no matter what you say. And our people are weaponizing poverty. They go out, vote against their conscience, they know the truth, only to come back to begin to complain for the next 4 years. Some will tell you, I am not going to vote. It's already like that. We have know who will win. No matter what the traditional ruler says, it's about the people. It's about weaponizing hunger. It's about weak institutions. We have stronger men operating weak institutions. But we should be able to develop weak institutions. Like I told you, government policies, except people begin to see that it's reflecting in their lives, begin to own it as their own, there's nothing anybody can do. And that's why I appeal to our politicians. Make it reflective on people. Mr. Charles, my sister will know your name later. Mr. Charles.
That's Belinda.
Her name is Belinda.
Belinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Charles, he knows me. Let me bring this analogy that I have shared with you over the years. We have known ourselves from Urban Radio to Energy FM and now to, what is this television now? Signature TV. Now we have. I shared the issue of Nogels. I recommend 2 books to people to read. First is Why Nations Fell. The other one is From Third World to First World, written by Lekwayo. Why Nations Fell is a book written by 2 professors, Professor Asemoglu and Professor Robinson. They shared an experience with us about the Nogels of Arizona and Nogels of Mexico. One people divided by international boundary. The Nogels in Arizona, they get involved in their political aspirations, whatever is in the area of governance. And they are quite active about that. If you do well, you go back. If you don't do well, you may not win the next election. You may not even complete your tenure. Then government is forced to do what will benefit the people. The Nogels of Mexico, they live in abject poverty because they're not getting involved. That is the danger of weaponizing poverty. Are you seeing what is happening in Nigeria? It's not about any particular state. As I speak to you, it's now luxury to cook with cooking gas. It's now luxury to use electricity. It's now luxury for you to be able to fuel your car. It's now luxury for you to be able to pay school fees. It's now luxury for you even to eat. It's luxury to eat. Why? If it is like that, and people cannot feel the impact of good governance, they don't get involved. That is the problem. And when they don't get involved, they are also so conscious of their lives, they don't stand up. It's not about the traditional institution. It's about what is happening. Sometimes I don't even see it as that the traditional rulers do it on purpose. They are trying to stay safe, probably because of their level of understanding, level of education, level of exposure. I don't expect myself to speak with almost every one of them. I have seen it. I've withered some threats. I've withered some so many things to get to where I am in level second.
I'm shocked that you mentioned that political education of the people in the community is not part of the
No. Let me tell you, that should be the primary function of the political parties.
Not the
The traditional rulers should not get partisan. We will always tell them, go, I'm coming. We will always tell them, go and exercise your franchise. We will always tell them, go and vote your conscience. It is the duty of the political parties, and they don't do it until they get to election. Political enlightenment is the job of the political parties. They have to fund it. It is the job of the National Orientation Agency. It is the job of the State Orientation Agency. It is the job of NSEC, SEC, or INEC. That is their job. Why do you give it such responsibilities to the traditional ruler you are not funding to do that? Political parties should have funds for all these things, and it shouldn't be just close to election. Once you are doing political enlightenment during the election, people see it as campaign.
Right.
National Orientation Agencies should sit up. State Orientation Agencies should sit up. INEC and the SEC should sit up. It's their job. Why are they relegating it to people? Once you allow the traditional rulers get into political education, you are gradually allowing them to be partisan. And they should not. They should be unbiased people in that community that should say it the way it is, no matter who is affected.
Wow.
Igwe, we want to have to leave it there. I mean, it's been a very fine discussions with you. I mean, it's always a nice time having you in the studio to give an insight into these issues. The relationship between traditional rulership and, of course, untraditional institutions, the government, and, of course, the local government administration. Many thanks for your time. I was going to ask you other things relating to, now that we have the new chairman of the Enugu East local government area, which you're
Enugu South.
Enugu South, okay, which you fall under. I was wondering what collaboration are you looking out for in terms of building trust and, of course, building.
Eventually, the new chairman, if we have time, just 1 minute, the new chairman of Enugu South local government is somebody I knew way back to about 20, okay, let me say for a very long time. And I know his antecedents. If he is given a free hand to work as executive chairman, the way I know him, he's going to deliver. Except other underneath forces.
Which we will find out, because I was still going to invite you over to discuss that in due course. Maybe another one.
So he consulted.
Okay.
And I didn't take time to remind him his antecedent and told him, this is the time to manifest your words. Because you know people from what they say.
Wow. Ezudo 3, the king of peace. No one of the peace in there, Ugwaji. Thank you very much for coming. It's been an awesome time. All right, we'll be moving ahead to another segment. Do stay with us.